Hello and welcome to Hekima Counsel's Makala Podcast channel. My name is Amanda Masondo and I'm your host. We hope this podcast finds a way to impact, educate, and inspire your next. Hello and welcome to the Makala Podcast channel. I'm your host, Amanda Masondo. My guest today, very excited, she is what you would call a rare diamond in an industry that is quite male-dominated, in an industry that is also quite Caucasian, if I must say. My guest today is Apiwe Nxusane-Mawela. She is a brewmaster. Welcome, Apiwe.
Thanks. Hello, how are you?
Good, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, first things first, who is Apiwe? Where did that journey begin? And do you think that some of that journey has influenced your entrepreneurial journey so far?
Yeah, so the journey started many months ago. I igama Apiwe Nxusane from Goa in Butterworth in the Eastern Cape. Also married into the Mawela family, Evenda. Growing up, I think that's where it started. I enjoyed maths and science in school. Both my parents were teachers. The rural Eastern Cape, as you know, everyone thought I was going to become a doctor. And for what happened was when I was in high school, I had an aunt who was working here in Joburg, and she convinced my parents that I could come up here to Joburg. Did my high school this side, so that allowed me obviously to be exposed to more things. I went for an open day at then Rao, now UJ. That's where I got to know about microbiology and to learn about that we can use science to make products that people consume every day. And that's where from that then started learning about beer brewing and all the other different types of products that can be made through science, and decided to study microbiology.
I mean, okay, there are a few things missing there, but we'll come to that. So you stumbled over biotechnology. But what was the moment that you thought, I could do this? Entrepreneurship is something that I can try.
So when I finished studying, I actually got a bursary from SAB, and that's how I actually got into specifically beer. I think with microbiology, then it was obviously more open to say, I could have been a could be making cheese, yeah. I could have been a,
True.
So I got a bursary with SAB, and then I did my brewing internship with them, trained as a brewer, trained as a brewmaster. I think somehow in that process, I actually sort of fell in love with the process of making beer, and I actually started making, before I left SAB, actually was employed as a craft brewer for the business. So I was allowed to create my own recipes. So I moved from making the beers that you guys know of.
Yes.
I was allowed to sort of like be creative, and for me, that's where it started. I was like, okay, like people started drinking my beers, getting the feedback from people saying, oh yeah, like what you're doing is
So they were enjoying these test sessions.
Yes. Yeah. And I also got to know about, the craft beer industry globally, what was happening in the US, what's happening in Europe. This is going back 2011 when the industry was really booming. And yeah, through that somehow convinced myself
because that's where it starts.
that maybe I could do this on my own, and the rest is history. Here we are.
Tolokazi. Talk us through that product offering, that service offering, and how it came about.
So Tolokazi is Tukosam, it's Tagazelo, my clan name. So Tolokazi udlangamandla umchenge. So I'm my core values are around celebrating who we are as Africans, and I think for me that actually goes back to when I qualified as a brewer with my first position. Now it is by cars and ekhaya they were like, you need to come back uzonzutywala for abantu abadala, and thank the ancestors for the blessings. And I realized that actually I have no clue how to make our own traditional beers, mqombothi, even though I was a qualified brewer. And like for me, that was the point to say, no, but why is that? Why am I proud to become a brewer within the Western terms?
Yes.
But
the basics and fundamental of how
Yes,
you...
abantu besintu make utshwala. I have no clue, and that's where it started. That's when I decided, you know what, I actually want. That's if I was to leave this earth, that's probably what I want to leave, having changed or having influence. So through the journey, I mean, I started the brewery. The company used to be Brewster's Craft. Got funding to open up a brewing plant, and I was gonna launch Tolokazi in 2020. Had the design and everything ready, and then obviously COVID happened. For me, the brand, as you see at the back of the can there, we're about paying homage to African female brewers, past, present, and future. Past being Ogogo, who've been doing this thing for centuries. Present being me and my generation, and the influence that we have and the privileges that we have, actually, and then the future being those who come after us. How do we pave the way for them so that things are way easier than how we found things. That's what Tolokazi is about.
Sure. And then obviously you spoke about what Tolokazi used to be, so you rebranded, right?
Yes.
Talk me through that process of rebranding, and did you find that did you lose some of your customers because of it, or did you find that process seamless?
For me, the values were still the same. The core values were still there. So the Brewsters, a Brewster is actually a term for female brewer. So the brand was about celebrating women in the industry anyway. So it was just a rebranding. And I think then, I mean, when I spoke to my designer, the graphic designer who did my labels, the brief, I told him obviously my story and what I want the brand to represent. And asked him that I wanted something new age African, something world class, something that will go anywhere in the world, whether it's New York, in the streets of UK, and can proudly stand with other brands and represent proudly what we are about in Africa. I didn't get much negativity from how the brand was launched, I think. And also, then the other thing for me, the good thing that came out of COVID was the fact that, it gave us that platform to really, people were more, coming out of COVID, people were more open to localization. People were more open to
trying new things,
because there was a point in time
we couldn't try anything.
They couldn't find what they know, and all they could find was things they didn't know before. So for me, that was probably one of the blessings out of the pandemic.
Okay. Talk me through, before we go into just the running of the business, you're a cook of this beer, right? But now you have to think about how the look and feel of Tolokazi is and what that entails, and obviously doing some work with the graphic designers and everything else that it encompasses, the whole structure in a business and how you want it to look. How did you find that process?
It was quite, I won't lie, it was different. It was quite different. I'm a scientist, a trained scientist, who then obviously have a bit of the creativity from being a brewer, because brewing is a mixture of science and art. And then finding myself having to now worry about social media and learning how that works. How that world works. And it's been a very interesting journey, I won't lie. I've actually enjoyed it, and it's
learning a different skill.
Yes, and it's actually made me see that actually anything is possible in life, huh?
No, my black child, your dreams are valid. All right, and then COVID happens, of course, with everything else that's happening, COVID, inflation, all these headwinds that are
our reality,
affecting the way that people do business, consumers buy. How would you describe the state of entrepreneurship from your own experience?
I think from everybody's perspective, it's tough. It's a real hustle. Every day is a different struggle. It's not for the faint-hearted. You have to have something. It has to be deeper. Like for me, I remember talking to someone during the pandemic, and while everything was just going south, and for me it was about, and it's always been about, as long as you believe in your dream, as long as you believe in what you're trying to do, it doesn't matter what the outside world and whatever's happening in the outside world. as long as when as a person, you remain true to who you are, you remain true to your values, you remain true to your beliefs and your passions. Everything else is just noise that you sort of have to maneuver through
and navigate. All right, and then maybe tell us some background information about the team that you use and the people that you work with, some of your employees. What does that structure look like?
So I am pro-black, pro-women, unapologetically women. I employ mainly women because I believe that, we talk women empowerment, we talk transformation, we talk all these wonderful terms, but who's going to do it? Who is the savior that we're waiting for? So I took a decision that, I will go out of my way, to create that enabling environment. Not to say I'm anti-men and anti-white people. I still work with them, but my core focus is women empowerment.
Yeah.
So in the brewery, out of 10 employees, 8 are women.
Yay.
and even like with even the people that I mentor, I only mainly mentor women, young ladies who are wanting to know more about not only the beer industry but like beverages, food, in general. So.
And are you finding that there's more of them, the more youngsters looking to get into it?
Yes. It's very interesting actually that, and not just in South Africa. I've got people in Zim that would call up on LinkedIn because I'm quite big on LinkedIn. Power of LinkedIn. I get people.
Social media, look at
yes.
you.
Yes. So I get people that would, like, I've got a lady in Nigeria, for example, in Nairobi. So you find that, one of the nice things from COVID also made the world so small.
Smaller, yeah.
Yes. And you're able to just link up with someone in Brazil and have a chat about what they're doing, what we're doing this side, and sort of like compare notes and
collaborations, yeah. So now you have 10 plus or so employees. What would you say your leadership style is?
So I took what I think worked and made me to be who I am. When I started working, I was blessed to have managers who would allow me to be myself. And would allow me to shine. So I remember when I was with SAB, I had one of my managers would actually, when they asked me to do something, they would, on the presentation to head office, they would say, this was prepared by Apiwe. So for me,
giving you the credit.
Yes, nice. And allow people to, and push them to, to show who they are and what they can do. So that's what I've adopted, being very open and allow people to bring on the table what they can offer and see how we can work together.
Nice. Okay. And then we get into a space where you said COVID brought a lot of opportunities, right?
Headaches.
And headaches, of course. Many headaches. Those we didn't know we had. You find that a lot of businesses had to tap into the world of e-commerce and digitization. Did you find that you had to learn from scratch those skills as you went along? Or is it something that you felt like you were already starting to progress in anyway?
No, yeah. When COVID happened, being in the alcohol industry, we were like total shut down. So that opened the opportunity of online, which I actually grabbed with both hands. So at the moment, that's probably mainly where I sell my product on platforms like Takealot, Zulzi, Avo. So I've looked at some of the leading online platforms continue today, where you still use them. And I think also from a consumer perspective, people were pre-COVID, people were not that much into buying online.
No, we were not.
Yes, and post and during that time we had obviously a spike. I mean, the companies will tell you they saw spikes in terms of the traffic through their sites. Even though things have slowed down, but for me, because I do not have the capacity to distribute nationally, the online platforms allow for ease of that.
Yeah. All right. And then have you reached out to retailers? Is that something that you are looking to do? And if so, what has been that kind of experience?
Yeah, so I have been in contact with some of the major retailers in the country. Unfortunately, it's I don't know if I'll call it the system is flawed.
That's the correct term. The system is flawed.
But it's unfortunately as a small brand or an entrepreneur, it's difficult to penetrate big retail. I mean, the guys obviously want their margins. They've got set margins. They don't care who you are. The product has to move off shelf. So obviously, if the product is not known, it's going to stay longer on shelf.
On the shelf, yeah.
Which therefore then defeats the purpose. And also, price wise, when you have to go through the DCs and going through different shops, having to merchandise shops, having to run specials, and have to, it's just the system is flawed. So
survival of the fittest.
It is survival of the fittest, So for me, I've actually just changed my strategy, to a point to focus on building the brand.
Okay.
Because I believe that the more people know about the brand, but when the time is right and it's on shelf, the people is gonna fly off shelf.
They're going to come knocking on your door.
Yes, and also use the people to influence retailers to say, like, the more people ask about something, that also then sort of like pushes retailers to say, but what is this thing? I also want to have it because people want it. So I want to try that strategy and see.
I believe in that strategy. It's going to work, and this is the right place to do it. Right place to do it. All right. I see you've got various flavors that you've introduced to some of your beers. Talk me through some of that product offering. What are the kind of beers that you have and the kind of flavors that are in the different types?
Yeah. So the brand for me is the story within the whole celebration of Africa is not just the outside; it's also on the inside.
Yes.
So I showcase South African ingredients in the beer. So I've got a lager, which uses only South African ingredients, South African malt, South African hops. It's a hop called African Queen.
African Queen.
Yes, which obviously then
Fitting.
plays. Yes. And then I've got a sorghum pilsner, which is the one you have there, the green one.
Okay.
So that uses amabele sorghum, as you know. So I call it the modern version of umqombothi.
Yes.
And then I've got a rooibos and berry cider, what you have there. Tea. So that's got obviously rooibos, proudly South African, and then I've got an African pale ale. So when everyone is doing the American pale ale or English pale ale, it's not a documented style yet.
Yeah.
But it exists because we're in Africa and we're about celebrating who we are.
Yes.
So that's the range. And then I had a pineapple launch during influenced by.
Are you sure? Another pandemic influence.
Yes, I was influenced by the pandemic. I launched a pineapple cider just to show people that how pineapple should actually be the right way of doing it. Yes. But that's
because we tasted lots of things in that period.
Yeah, and then I'm busy working on a marula cider at the moment, and then because I think the marula as a proud African fruit is not celebrated as much as it should be.
So is there a favorite amongst the crowd?
It's like asking a mother, like,
which one of my kids are in?
Yeah, exactly. You can't.
Let the people.
But if I had
decide.
to,
yeah.
If I had to choose, I mean, the sorghum pilsner for me is the one close to my heart, and the one that I also take more to the world. So the sorghum pilsner was actually distributed in the UK last year, and it's because it talks more to because a lot of people have never tried sorghum beer before. So even when I go to the beer festivals, people are like, "What sorghum? What's that?" And then you start telling the story, and then people would have heard of Mqombothi, and then you have to start explaining what that is. Yes.
Yeah. So also your brand is it's also an education process.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So you are a female in a male-dominated industry. Is that something that you feel, Or is it just something that people say, but it's not really your lived experience?
Yeah, so I've got two disadvantages. I'm female and I'm black.
Hey.
So it's like a double.
Facts.
So it's been, I won't lie, it has not been as difficult as what I've heard other people experiences.
Okay.
Yes. I think for me, the advantage I had was coming from a reputable company and having the right qualifications, and also what has worked in my favor is that I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm on about.
You're not starting from scratch.
Yes, and also the product, the quality of the product. So it's people that are within the industry. It's they don't question as much. You do get that. You do get those random people.
Yeah.
But for me, I've learned over the years to just be like, whatever. I'm a brewer who happens to be black, who happens to be female, but
All
bottom
other
line
things are
is
secondary. Yeah.
yes.
Lovely. All right. Then we move on to you having to navigate a South African market. All right. Are you finding that there's differences? I know that if you were in the UK and you've got quite a lot of footprint on the African continent as well. What are some of the differences with regards to a local market versus a more international, broader, global market?
The South African market, or the African market, what I realized is that people are more open now. Like, there was a time where the global brands were the ones, was the it, So if you look at, like, from sneakers, where we have Abu Bata, Abu Drip, Abu Vaya, and all these brands that are really starting to, people would choose that over a Puma or an Adidas,
Yeah.
Not to say you don't use the other stuff, but
Yes.
you have
You're
more,
deliberate.
Yes, you make that deliberate choice. So I find that is also the case within the brands, where there's people that would choose to have Tolokazi, and it doesn't mean that you stop drinking your other stuff. You still continue drinking that, because also for me, I'm positioning the brand as a premium brand. It is not a it is to be enjoyed, to be savored, and to be appreciated.
Yes.
And yeah, so I've found that compared to the global market, to your question, it's more matured. They used to different types of different beers. So and what I've also realized is that, because it's the world is very much looking to Africa. People are curious about what we're doing here.
Yes.
They want to learn more, because I think they've done all that they could do in their own
Elsewhere,
countries.
yes.
Now they're curious about us, and come and seeing the potential that exists within the continent. So that curiosity, for me, I mean, I had a collaboration brew in Brazil last year. We used marula, and people were like, "What's that?" So now having to tell the African story, what is marula? The elephants and so it's very interesting times.
Yes. All right. And then, who are some of your customers? So if you were to unpack some of the trends and are we looking older? Are we saying younger people? Who's exactly buying your brand?
Because we are obviously positioned as a premium product, so many of my markets are like, obviously, like your sort of like your higher LSM, people that have traveled, people that are willing to try new things, people that are adventurous, that are not set in the old ways. So they're very open-minded. They like experiences. So these are people that would drive to Swaziland for a bushfire.
Yeah.
Go to, so though that's what I found. Obviously, not to shut down all the other people, but I've had people that would not, even though the product is pricier, they would buy it, because of what it means to them, and
the quality of the product,
and the quality, obviously.
Sure. You spoke earlier on about some of the challenges that you faced around distribution. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, it's. I mean, you would know the industry is very monopolized. We've got like the two big players who have had 100 years to try different things and
Try
fail
again.
and try again and launch products and products fail. So they have 100 years of runway and if you go to the marketplace, obviously they've found what works, and because they have the monopoly, it's difficult to enter that market where people obviously are given fridges, you get given umbrellas, and those are small things, but they cost money. So people expect that from a small brand. Like, I do not have that sort of money. I cannot just come to your establishment and put up 10 umbrellas and wait for you to sell something, so and also the consumer on the other end also, because they buy what they know. They would go there, and if that specific brand is not in the fridge,
They do without. Yeah.
yes, so it's just going, navigating those dynamics and finding, like, for me, what I've then decided to do is, like, you know what, it's I cannot change what has been there for so long, but what I can do is just stay on my lane, drive my Tata Indica, let the BMs and the
Pass
the
by,
Mercedes pass by.
yes.
But we're all gonna get there. The journey is long and the journey is exciting. We're all driving through the N1. Some will get there faster than others, and just go with the people that believe in what I'm trying to do, and let those people help me grow. And the other people will find us on the way, and they will they'll jump on the
And
bus.
they will wonder, why weren't we
Yes.
always on this bus?
Exactly.
Fantastic. Talk to me about consumer trends, right? You mentioned obviously the various sectors, South Africa. Are you finding that consumers are, obviously we've evolved, but also don't have the funds that we used to have. There are people who are still on the 30% cut of their funds that were happening in COVID. What has been some of the tradition that you've seen in that regard?
Yeah, no, times are tough. People are not spending as much as they did, which is making, obviously, our premium price products things more difficult than they were. But there's still those people.
We're still happy to use that.
Yeah, I mean, every, like, the way I look at it is that if you wanted to buy a watch, and a watch tells time, and wherever you buy the watch, or a phone, there's people that are specific about the type of phones they use. There's people that are specific about, and it doesn't matter what the price is. So as much as times are tough, there are people that still will choose whatever they choose based on other value propositions that the brand offers. So for me, it's what I've decided to do is push what the brand value proposition, and rely more on that to say, even though obviously times are tough, but people might spend less, but the little that they still spend, can they still spend on Tolokazi, and just help the brand to continue.
Obviously, we have people who are entrepreneurs, investors that are going to be listening and watching this podcast.
Yes, hi.
You've managed to get your product onto, you mentioned Take a Lot. What do people not know about that process that you feel like you would make it more seamless for them?
It's not so difficult. I think a lot of people think these things are very difficult. People think, oh my God, where do I even start? Like, for me, what I've found is sometimes if you just ask, the help is there. And these processes are not as daunting as we think they are. I know there's people that obviously make a hustle out of the other people's hustle. It's just to read and get yourself out there. I think for me, one of the key things is also, being surrounded by similar, like, same-minded people. So that's where you learn. Because if you just keep to yourself and try to navigate things that you also do not know by yourself, you get more stressed.
Yes.
Whereas if you surround yourself with people that have done some of these things and who are open to share, then you're able to learn from them.
Yeah. You obviously had the assistance of course, your parent company, the parent group. But some people have to navigate more other things like knocking on the doors of investors and knocking on the doors of people that fund entrepreneurs. What was your journey like in that regard?
It was tough. Yeah, I've done my knocking around. It's actually very, what's the right English word? Being politically correct, yeah.
Say it in Xhosa if you need to.
No, but it's actually I think the system is flawed, guys. Like it's actually very sad how flawed the whole thing is. And our government talks about promoting entrepreneurship. I mean, for me, a lot of people look at me and say, "Oh, she's black, she's female, she's industrialist, she's in a in a niche market.
Yes.
I should be actually like turning down
Offers left, right, and center.
And that is not the case. We our industry is seen as a sin industry, so none of the government entities give us grants. And even the ones that do, like any other black child, where you have to have security, you have to have collateral, you have to, like, they want to see your bank statement, they want to see you have to put in a personal balance sheet, and most of the people, I mean, we don't have those things. We don't have we're not trust fund babies. We don't have cushions. And so it makes it very difficult. Whether you're looking for bank support, it's not easy, but it's doable, guys. As much as I seem negative.
Just one truth.
Yeah, it is.
Truth,
It is doable. I think for me, what has worked is, being true to what you're offering the market, and sticking it out. Because what I found is sometimes a lot of entrepreneurs get in because, I'll make an example with the sneakers, for an example. Everyone have seen the first ones in are making it big. Now everyone wants to also participate.
Yeah.
But then some people don't even understand the industry. They don't understand what it takes. Like, they don't understand how the shoe is manufactured. And as a result, when the tough gets going, they're quick to drop out because they're like,
they don't know the process.
yes, like I don't even like this thing. I was just in it for money, So I think the advice I'll give to young entrepreneurs out there is just be true to yourself, be true to your passion, get into a business that in the long run you will stick it out.
Research.
Yes.
Do lots of research. All right, I want us to track back a little bit. Go back to some of the rebranding and branding. Obviously, IP is becoming a real thing, and people just changing a few things of certain things. I mean, we won't mention it, but one of the big clothing retailers today was in the news, and they are being taken to task on some of those things that they are. Is that something that you had to invest in? And maybe if you have those kind of costing that's involved in that process, did you have to endeavor in that path as well?
For our industry, we don't patent the recipe, because brewing is, I mean, like, you can go online now and Google how to make a lager, and you get a million recipes that come up. But what you can trademark the name. So I've trademarked Tolokazi for beer and beverages, actually, whether it's alcoholic, non-alcoholic. So I did, so a lot of the things actually I did myself, like from my business plan. I wrote my own business plan when I was looking for funding. Even the application at CIPC for trademarks, it's actually there. That's why I was saying, like, some of these things are actually not so difficult. You just have to read and be open-minded. So I did my own application for the trademark, and to trademark with Tolokazi, but the recipe itself, like the intrinsics of the product, we can't trademark or patent that.
That's interesting. All right. And then I've sat with a few entrepreneurs on that same couch who've spoken about the need for collaboration within entrepreneurship. Is this something that you can say you've seen it bear fruit, or do you think it's something that entrepreneurs need to embark on some more in order to strengthen the sector? I hear a story.
Yeah,
I know
there's a story
here somewhere. Tell me everything.
No, my personal view is that as Black people, we've got a very bad syndrome. Like, I think that thing you would see, like, they making it because
of
me, and that hinders collaboration, a true collaboration. And people are always looking at what is it in for me, and personally, where someone would look at my brand and say, no, but you are, even though there is alignment, they'll look at it and say, no, but you are below me.
Why would I help?
Why should I help your brand when no one was there to help me? And that is a very big problem that we have. And I hope at some point we can actually get over that and truly collaborate. Because I believe in collaboration. I believe that there is power in that. There's room for us to leverage off each other's strengths and help each other's in our weaknesses, and help each other grow. But unfortunately, in my experience, I haven't.
We're not there yet.
No, we're not there yet.
So do you think it's a Black entrepreneur thing, or is it just generally there's just a lack of eagerness to assist each other? I mean, we're selling Ubuntu. It's our thing. It's our trademark. Are you saying that's not a real thing?
It's not a real thing we talk about. No, but it's personally, I've had from other races, not being racist or anything, but the other races are more open to such more than our own people.
Yeah.
That's just been my personal experience. I don't know about other people. I don't know you guys.
And I suppose it's institutional.
Yes.
People have had to fight for the things that they have. And
and I appreciate, and also for me, like, having said that, I've also had people who come to me and say they want to collaborate with me, and I also look at it from a point that, but like, what are you bringing on the table? Like, collaboration has to be mutually beneficial.
Yeah.
And I guess it's just finding two entities that see value in each other and see the mutual benefit. Because if there's one person who's benefiting more than the other, then it's not a collaboration.
It's not working.
Yeah, it won't work. And I think that's probably maybe for me personally something I need to probably also work more on, to say, how do I identify those businesses that I would benefit from, but they'll also benefit from me. And even before doing the conversation, to sort of like think about how will they benefit, and not look at it from my perspective only. Because I think sometimes that's what we do. Like, I come to you and say, oh, okay, fine, now I want 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And not think about, okay, fine, what am I bringing to you?
What do you need?
Yes, that when we start the conversation, I say, okay, fine, I want 1, 2, 3, but I'm giving you 3, 4, 5. Then it becomes a flowing conversation, and that, I think personally, there's some people I also need to work more on.
Yeah. So what would you need to achieve this? I mean, we want to help you. What do you guys need? Do you need more networking sessions? What do you need? What kind of spaces and environments would
it's difficult. I think for entrepreneurs, I mean, like, you have businesses that do all these ESD programs, and you sit in class and they teach. Oh God. We don't want that. Yeah, it's good because then you learn more. I mean, like, but there's so many for non-financial managers courses I can do as a person. We need money. We need money. We need access to market. We need, not just not just the opening up, but the support in that process, you
Yeah.
know, and like the access to consumers. Because personally, for me, with my brand, where I've decided to focus on building the brand, and I wanted to be in spaces that people said. So
Yeah.
whether you buy now, but you know about the brand. So you might decide not to buy today, but you know about it. So and then the next time when you see it again, because I mean you know the cycle of closing a sale. It is
Yeah.
not a once-off thing. You don't wake up and I talk to you today and tomorrow you sold. It has to be a continuous thing. Even the big brands, they've had years of, I call it brainwashing.
Brainwashing the consumer.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, there's certain brands that
Yeah.
even if you're using a different brand, but you still call it by that brand name because it's kind of engraved.
orange.
Yes, it's engraved
Yeah.
in you, and that's partly brainwashing, and that takes time, and that's part of brand awareness and building the brand. And for me, that's something that I've sort of like started focusing more on. With the belief that the rest will sort of fit in place with time.
Okay. So as we get to the tail end of our conversation, I want us to speak to the entrepreneur, someone who is eager and interested in starting. They're stuck in a job that they know they shouldn't be in. They have this idea. They're still at an idea stage. What are some of the things that you would advise them to do? How do they get started? How do they lead with fear instead of shying away from it?
Yeah, I think personally, I don't think everyone is meant to be an entrepreneur. Not all of us. I mean, it's like with life. There are people that are meant to be leaders. There are people that are meant to be followers, and that's the order of life. You know, otherwise,
Yeah.
things wouldn't make sense. So there are people that are meant to stick with their 9 to 5, and that's fine. Not all of us will
All
end up.
companies need employees.
Yes, even the company that an entrepreneur will start, will need to employ someone. So now you know what I mean. And also, you know, the fear of, you know, when I left, I had a very comfortable paying job. I had like a nice car
Benefits.
allowance, and all that stuff. And I mean, the first few months and the first few years, I was like, oh my God, what did I do? Maybe I should go back. And
Yeah.
because the comfort, you know, like the comfort of knowing that month end comes, that TT is guaranteed.
Oh, yeah.
And
It's safe.
Yes, it's safe, and we all want that safe net. So I would probably say that for anyone who's thinking of jumping ship, just be sure that it's really what you want to do, and have a plan. Don't just wake up and decide tomorrow because
Quitting your job.
yes, because your boss is not nice to you. Now you're quitting your job. Have a plan. Go into the entrepreneurial world knowing exactly what you want to do. Have timelines, how long you want to take, and don't be scared to ask for help. Like I think also, especially for us women, I mean, like I'm a mother of 2, married, and now I have this on the side, and which
Your
is actually
CEO.
now which is actually not a side, it's actually the main thing, and trying to get that balance, being able to be vulnerable and ask people to help you when you need help.
Vulnerability is key. All right, and then where to now for Tolokazi Brewers? What, are we going international? What are we doing? What's the plan?
So at the moment, as part of my strategy of building the brand, also just testing different markets, to sort of see, you know, what market is more receptive. So I have got a footprint in Zambia at the moment. So I'm doing a bit of traveling and the continent. I was in Nairobi. I'm doing some work in Rwanda. There's a lot of interest in Zambia also, and also within. I mean, this like I told you about the UK deal. So we're negotiating a 3-year distribution delay in the UK also, because interestingly, South Africans, I don't know if it's a thing where we celebrate our Trevor Noah once they're in the US.
Yeah.
Our Black Coffee once they're all over.
Eish.
So I want to kind of like tap into that to say, how do I elevate the brand so that it becomes a well-known brand, that when people come into South Africa from anywhere in the world, if they land, they ask for it. You know, if someone is in Germany and hears of someone traveling to South Africa, they have to say, "Yo, you're going to South Africa, you have to try Tolokazi."
Yeah.
That
you have to bring it back for me.
Yes, you know, and then locally, I want people to really embrace this brand as a local, truly, proudly, loudly South African brand, and that is about who we are. Yeah.
And then tell us, lastly, where can people find you, your brand again?
So Tolokazi Pia, I think the easiest is follow us on social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok, we're there. But also on our website, tolokazipia.co.za. We've got our own online store where you can purchase and we deliver anywhere in South Africa. Then we also sell a few retails, physical stores and online stores like Take a Lodge, Zulzi I mentioned. Then we're in a few spas, top spas and local liquors. But most of the information you either find us on our socials.
Ladies and gentlemen, the brewmaster.
Now we can have a beer.